Welcome back, my friends, to TFT Hyperroll with Autarch. I wanted to break format or my planned videos a little bit and address a comment by Galitsabakla. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. If I'm not, I'm sorry. But they questioned whether Trickshot had been murdered in the latest patch. Now, from what I saw in the patch notes, there were small adjustments to Kaisa and Xayah, but nothing I really saw as being major. But let's just get into these augments. Nothing really exciting here. Yeah, that's sort of the way it usually is. I often consider team builder simply because you can build a team, but overall, healing orbs is a little bit better, especially if you don't know which way you're going. I ultimately decided which way I was going here when I saw that I had a Teemo and a Kabuko and I already had a Sivir, so that meant I could go with Tricky Pugilist, which is the Bruiser and Trickshot build. And I'm going to try to speed through because I forget if this is the third or fourth video I have done on this, and there will be more coming with a whole different thing I'm doing on 3-star forecasts. And I also want to say that this video doesn't prove the comment wrong. This season is so RNG based more than any other season I have ever seen of TFT that you could have the same build 2 different times with 2 wildly different results, giving you a different impression of it. So much of it has to do with portals, the augments, but even the encounters can completely flip how a build plays out, and that might be the experience of the commenter in this case. I definitely don't want to rule that out. It is time for the second set of augments, and yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Because if you have Trickshot, you're already running it, and you get Lucky Ricochet, I don't know why I bothered rolling, you just go with it, because that is going to help the team immensely. Without it, maybe it will struggle more, but I tend to just go with it. In this case, because I ended up with so many tiers, I decided to put the Static Shiv on Bard. While I usually go AD for this build, when they give you that many tiers, you gotta just go with it. Ultimately, also, it's not just about the trick shots, it's about getting the front line together. Ours is still a little weak here. We haven't gotten some of the higher cost, and we don't have a 3-star Kabuko. And there's a similar problem with this as there is with snipers, in that you have a champ, Sivir or Senna, who benefits the champions on either side of them, which kind of leads you to clump your carries. That can be good or bad depending on who you end up facing. If you're facing Umbral or Reaper teams that can walk into your backline or execute from a distance, clumping might be a problem. Otherwise, it tends to work pretty well. Time for the final set of augments, and I sort of end up getting things I don't really want, but I'll take Blinding Speed because I want to make sure I get a Rage Blade on Bard. It's so important. But he's now got 3 bow items. So, yeah, we're probably going to end up with double Rage Blade or potentially putting a Last Whisper on him, but I'm going to take the time to pump everyone else up as much as possible. Kabuko, still, I plan on making him my main tank. And not only do you have counters to consider, but there are other factors involved. Is somebody going Mythic? If so, Trickshot might be a little bit tricky because it's going to be harder to get a gold 3-star Bard because there's going to be lots of competition. Is somebody going Ink Shadow? It's very rare, but that might make Kaisa a little more scarce. And often Lucky Ricochet will come first, and once you've taken that augment, you either have to stick with Trickshot or just basically let an augment completely go to waste, which is probably going to cause you to lose anyway. And we are down to our final item component, and we just haven't gotten exactly the things I would really want. We can go ahead and pick up the sword, and that's more in preparation for Kaisa, who we're going to want to stack AD items onto. Now, as for our current positioning, what we want to do is get a Galio in there, then give our Kale speed, and if we had had time, put them in between people, but we'll do that later. And I'm not sure positioning would have mattered in this case. They were just in a better place right now as a team. Kale went down pretty quickly, and the little speed boost I don't think would have mattered at this point. And I will be the first to say that this build is not necessarily designed to win. It is designed to keep you high enough on the health charts long enough for you to make it into the top 4. It takes special circumstances to end up winning. So I just want to go over this change here and why I made it. We bring in Xayah for Teemo. And that is because I just feel we need more power, and she's going to give more power. The other thing is we're going to switch Kayle and Xayah. This will give Xayah an additional speed buff, because she'll get the speed buff from Sivir when she ults and from Kayle at the start of the match. And again, luckily, we got the Trickshot augment that gave our attacks more bounce, which is allowing us to clear out backlines much easier, and ultimately leads us into the top 4. And again, that's really my goal with this build, top 4. If I can get there, I've succeeded. If we can get a win, it's likely special circumstances. And since we have a gold 3-star Bard, I wanted to keep him in the corner so he would have the maximum amount of time to do damage. It should keep him away from Caitlyn, who ends up going down pretty early as she was going to fire across the board in a different direction. But again, with the amount of bouncing, we're able to take them out. We are now into the 1v1 and down to our final 2 item choices. Rageblade, love it. Faster attacks, more bouncing. Rageblade, love it. Faster attacks, more bouncing. Why do I feel like I just said that? Anyway, you want to get Rageblades on anyone. I've also separated Bard, even though that is going to cause him to lose the 15% attack speed buff from Kayle. I feel it is worth it just to have him separated from the team, and that is because we are against a Lux, and so the Lux is going to stun things. So we do not want all of our carries getting caught up in a Lux stun. They shifted Lux over to the right, but we had moved Xayah over to the right. So Lux is going to throw across the board and catch Bard, but that left Xayah on her own with the Rageblade, Deathblade, and Giant Slayer to do as much damage as possible, and very quickly it is GG for everyone. And again, it's not always going to work for everyone. There are going to be rough goes, but if you get the right augments, items, etc., it's a really, really solid comp. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have an absolutely awesome day.